Well, we're now joined by the Bloc Québécois leader, Yves-François Blanchet. Monsieur Blanchet, bonsoir. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Listen, I want to begin our discussion today on the MOU signed between Ottawa and Alberta. And by the time this interview airs, you will have voted against the Conservative motion today. But I'm wondering if you could talk to us about the concerns you have about this MOU.
Basically, it should not exist at all. The future of Canada, Quebec, the whole world, including Alberta, should not be in oil and gas industry. Alberta should, as anybody else on the planet, start slowly but frankly to change and to go toward a different economy which will not be based on carbon because it is harmful. The Conservatives have presented a motion which basically is made to be a trap for the government. For us, it's very easy. They know we are against it. We will vote against it and see what happens. But it's a problem for the Prime Minister because within his own caucus, part of which was there under Justin Trudeau. And under Justin Trudeau, they pretended to have some environmental considerations, and Mr. Guilbeault was Minister of Environment. So now the caucus seems to be divided, and from within, Mr. Guilbeault is attacking frankly, his own government.
Mm-hmm. As you say, being critical in that opinion piece that was published today by the Toronto Star, written by Monsieur Guilbeault. But I understand you also have jurisdictional concerns around the MOU, because the Conservatives will say the Prime Minister constitutionally has the power right now to approve a pipeline.
Yeah, that's another part of the question. We said that we would be the most important voice for the fear that British Columbia should have about this right that the government pretends to have to go through British Columbia against the will of British Columbia and the will of First Nations. If it does happen in British Columbia, it might happen in Quebec. This is why we just became kind of objective allies in this debate. And the law on which they base their action is C5. And C5 by itself is a problem. It's been a long time. We said in June that this law gave the minister the right to suspend the implementation of any Canadian law by his own will, which is absolutely unacceptable in a democracy. And nobody seemed to have noticed so far. And recently there was a paper by El Tirage which reminded us of that, and then there was something in the French media this morning. The government has suspended democracy and the parliament in order to have pipelines go through parts of the territory which might not want it. That's a very, very important problem.
Mm-hmm. We're quickly running out of time here, but I also want to ask you about Bill C9, the government's hate crime bill. You and the Attorney General reportedly negotiating an amendment, one that removes the current exemption that protects religious text and debate from hate crimes legislation. There are religious groups that are concerned that if you remove that exemption, they will be silenced, they will be unable to practice their faith. What do you say to that concern?
I don't believe any part of it. First, the law will not have anyone go against a book or go against someone, and nobody knows who wrote it 1,000 or 3,000 years ago. So let's be coherent and logical. Then if somebody decides to say words and sentences which are open invitation to violence, that is a problem. But if the intention is clearly an educative one, or there are some evocation of not so clear things in arts, we understand that the law protects that. But what Adil Sharkawi did in Montreal, pronouncing an open invitation to violence, to genocide against the Jew people, is something which cannot in any way be accepted. The majority of Canadians are in agreement with us about this, and a very large consensus in Quebec says the same thing as we do. So the government had to decide either to put itself at the service of religious minorities or put itself at the service of the whole population of both Canada and Quebec. For the time being, at present time, they seem to be doing the right thing, but as you have seen, it tended to change a lot. We will know much more about it in the coming minutes.
This is also the last week before Parliament rises for Christmas, and I want to ask you, how long do you think this minority Parliament can last? When Parliament came back in September, you talked about giving this government a year. Does it have a year before we go to another election, do you think?
I do not know when we will go into another election, but I do know that more and more people, a lot of them in Quebec and some of them elsewhere in Canada, understand very clearly that this government has been elected pretending things which he never delivered. The genius did not solve the tariff crisis. The genius did not solve the trade crisis. The genius did not solve the climate crisis, and started instead doing other things which he had not said he would do them during the campaign. So people might quite rapidly say, okay, this is not what we voted for, this is not what we wanted. And at such a moment, yes, we could find ourselves into another election, not in the coming weeks, but let's say that the spring might be a long season for the government.
Well, of course, we are watching very closely. Monsieur Blanchet, merci pour votre temps ce soir.
It's been a pleasure. Au plaisir.